settle for any ordinary brand. Let Gerry Foster, the branding evangelist, show you how to have a world-class brand here on Big Brand Formula. No more spinning your wheels, wondering what it takes to have a great brand that can have great things happen for you. Gerry wants you to think big and go big. Through his interviews and inspiring teachings, each episode is devoted to giving you the guidance, support, and tools for big branding your business, product, or a service, or even yourself as a personal brand. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Gerry Foster.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Big Brand Formula podcast. I'm Gerry Foster, the Big Branding Guy, also known as the Branding Evangelist. And as you know, I am dedicated to bringing the best of the best of various people in their fields of expertise that have something to offer the world, the community, and the people that they serve, which I find extraordinary from a branding standpoint. And one of those individuals is who we have today for you. And she said something in an email to me that I want to share with you in terms of who she is and what captures what I call her brand essence. She wrote to me, she said, for those of you who have postponed a dream or purpose, or have tried to make it happen, and for some reason it just hasn't come together, then she can shed some light on realizing dreams. And that person, listeners and viewers, is Felicia Searcy, who is an award-winning transformational coach, international speaker, author, and minister who is passionate about your dream. She has helped thousands create the lives they love. And for over 20 years, Felicia has worked with people from all walks of life who are seeking the spiritual side of success. I like that. And as a highly sought after international speaker, she has shared the stage with powerhouse leaders like Mary Morrissey, Sandra Yancey, and Les Brown. Her proven dream activation code, I like that, dream activation code, we got to hear more about that, helps folks just like you accelerate your results as you create a richer, more fulfilling life. Now, I think it's very important to understand what her passion is. And Felicia's passion is her purpose, which is to empower you to discover and express your best self as you create the life that you love. Your dream is her passion. So welcome, everyone. Felicia Searcy. Hey, Felicia, great to have you here.
Thanks, Gerry. It is my joy to be here.
Oh, my goodness. So tell our listeners and viewers a little bit more about yourself in terms of your work and what you're doing and what made you do it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want everybody to take a moment and just ponder how indescribably powerful you are. We have all been given, and I'm going to talk more about this as we unpack this together, but we have all been given this just breathtaking power, truly to be able to create anything that we can dream up. And when we really understand how powerful we are, I personally think that it would drive us to our knees in deep awe and gratitude. And we would then dedicate our lives to learning how to unlock and unleash this power, to put it in service to what absolutely brings you alive, because that's how we bring our highest contribution to everybody around us in our world at large. So that's effectively what I'm up to, is just unleashing everybody's magnificence so we can together move our world forward to create a world that just is abundant and works for everybody. I got into this by, like many people, came from an environment that was less than preferred, we'll just say it that way, that there were some really painful elements. It was at a very low spot in my life, and discovered what many refer to, what I refer to as universal law. many people will distill it down into a single law called the law of attraction, which is actually a secondary law, which is the law of vibration. But I discovered that there really was a system and a power underneath that system. So people will often distill this down into mindset. Mindset's a tiny little piece of it. There's so much depth to it, that there are these laws and that there's a power undergirding these laws. And that when I discovered that and began to deepen my awareness of how to effectively unlock these laws and let them serve what I love in my life and deepen my awareness and my connection to the power undergirding it, my life took off in breathtaking ways. And I watched it and I realized, okay, there's something happening here. And so I codified it in my own words. This is not new. I'm not saying, oh, I've got the answer. I have an answer. I have an answer that works for me. I have an answer that's worked for thousands of other people. Lots of people have brought this forward, and I've codified it in a way that really works for me. And I'm on fire with helping everybody understand this, because think about it, especially now. And I think it was Thurgood Marshall who said, don't ask what the world needs, discover what you love, because the world needs more people doing what they love, right? When we do that, that's the process of unlocking and unleashing this indescribable power. And now we're putting it in service to good. We're putting it in service to a life that we love, which is allowing us to now bring our highest service.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. So I want to go back to that moment that you had, that shift, that thing that occurred. Sometimes I call it that all of a sudden kind of moment, right? It's like a little child that's learning to ride a bike. They're on the bike and they fall off and they get back on, they fall off, they get back on, they fall off. And then all of a sudden they have this thing called balance. Yeah. And balance is an all of a sudden occurrence. And so can you talk more about what was that for you? What took place in that story that you just shared, which was great, that led to this like boom that allows you now to take that and help other people and serve other people?
Well, here's what's interesting, because there's a bit of a part one and then a part two, okay, right? As you know, with all of us, there's a progression with this. So I discovered this, I began to apply it, my life got better, but what happened, and here's what I find, and these are mainly the people that I get to work with, right, is that they began to apply this stuff, and life got better. But then there was a place where it's almost like it came to a screeching halt. Now, here's the thing about that oftentimes, because you're working it and things are getting better, the place at which it starts becoming, there's a bit of a screeching halt, is at a place where things are really good in your life, right? They're good. Yet there's still this, there's a word that I'm looking for, unsatisfied, but that's not the word. Like this unsatisfied ache that is still kind of hanging out in the crevices a little bit. It's like in corners, and you're almost afraid to look at it because, oh my God, if I look at it, then maybe I'll have to do something. And I know what bad was, and now I've got good, and I don't want that to disrupt good. Are you following me?
Yes.
So it was one of those moments when I was actually, there was something that I really wanted. And when I work with people, I work in 4 areas. I work in the area of your health, your relationships, your vocation, which is how you share your gifts, your talents, that's your contribution. And then your freedom on your calendar and your checkbook. And the 2 areas for me that were just sticking points, they were good, but I was making good be good enough. I was making good enough be good enough, right? Yes. And so there was this unrelinquished, that's not the word, but just this like just still this bit of ache of knowing I wanted something more, even in the face of all of this good, and really having to stare down the voice of who do you think you are, and just be happy for what you have. But I realized that my reason for wanting more was because I wanted to grow both Number one, to improve the quality of my life and my husband's life with our wealth. And I wanted to be able to generate more wealth to give more. I have a deep desire to want to contribute to the organizations and causes that are deeply meaningful for me. And I wanted to bring bigger impact with my work. So impact with wealth and my work. And so you're asking about the moment, right? So I will never forget that moment because it's seared into my memory. I was living in Tennessee at the time. I poured energy into an initiative, thinking this was going to be the thing to bust the energy free. Now, Gerry, I did the work. I got help with culture and leadership, and you do an amazing work. And I think you do part of this work with your branding, but I went and tried to get some help with branding. And all of that is important. And I want you to hear me that I'm not saying that that's not important, but I kept putting it into the same container. I kept putting it into the same level of awareness. And I would make incremental changes, or I would make what I call episodic manifestation changes. But the true transformation wasn't happening. And so there was an initiative that I poured my heart and soul into, thinking, this is the thing. Boom, this is going to bust the energy free, right? This is my moment. Well, it wasn't. It fell flat. Wasn't bad. It was good. It was okay. Like my life was good. And it was this day where I was literally, it was July, I was in Tennessee, 97 degrees outside, 98% humidity, 3:00 in the afternoon. I am literally pounding the pavement with sweat, literally pouring down my face, completely oblivious to it because I'm so frustrated and I'm at a loss. Yeah. You don't know this stuff. Why is it not working for me? What am I missing? And I can remember going through that process and having the voices, maybe it's time to hang it up. Maybe you don't have what it takes. My God, you're working this hard and you've got this level of success. You sure you want to give up everything? How hard you're going to have to work kind of thing. So all of that was going through my head. But there was something really profound that happened. And here's the thing that I want listeners to listen for, because this is what happens for all of us. There's a moment, and it's what you're talking about, right? Where there's just this rebellion that will rise up inside of you, rose up inside of me. And I literally heard myself saying, no, I've got this dream. I know there's a way for me to achieve it, to live it. And that's when I made a decision. And it's the kind that you don't back up from. I didn't care what it was going to take. I was going to get this stuff figured out. I got very strategic, systematic, high-calibrated mentorship. And I dug in a way, in a system that allowed me to really see how to work it and discover a system for myself that as I understood the nuanced application of this, because it's one thing to understand something conceptually. It's a whole other thing to really understand that in the moment, nuanced sense of, oh, okay, this is what this is talking about, consistent and sustained enough in order to truly make the internal transformation that allowed me then to create and experience the external results consistently and accelerated with an accelerated growth, that this is now what I'm sharing with others. So that was a long story. I hope that there was value in that.
There was value in that. And one of the takeaways was that it led to you creating this system to create your dreams. Can you share a bit more about the system and what lies at the heart of it? What drives the system? Because I love the idea that you help people create their dreams, manifest their dreams, and live a life they love. And I think for a whole lot of people who are listening to this particular podcast, they want to know, wow, tell me about this system. Is it simple? Will it work for me? And what does it require?
Yeah, great question. So here's the thing. The thing that the takeaway from that story is one of the key takeaways, is which is part of the system, is give yourself permission to really pay attention to that discontent. First and foremost, that's the first step. First and foremost, start tuning into that discontent. And people in particular who've been exposed to this begin to start excusing away their discontent, especially when life has gotten pretty good. And so you want to realize that that dream, that desire, number one, it's not your dream, it's not your desire, it's life-seeking expression through you. And it's the way that life helps us wake up to even more of our magnificence. So start noticing where those areas of your life that are good, but there's a part of you that says, yeah, this is good. This is good. And deep down, you know that there's a part that's saying, yeah, but there's so much more.
Absolutely.
Then what you want to do is you want to take that discontent and then let it inform the answer to the most potent, powerful question that we can ask, which is, what would I love? What would I love? Understanding that it is love itself seeking expression through you. And it's the invitation to learn how to use this most potent energy in the entire universe, which is our capacity to consciously choose images that we mentally rehearse in our imagination. When we understand the power of our imagination and how our imagination then activates a conversation with this invisible field where there are waves of energy that quantum physics has proven, what spiritual masters have taught throughout the ages, waves of energy hanging out and what quantum physics calls superposition, that what you are mentally rehearsing in this faculty of your imagination generates feelings. Those feelings generate a vibration, a frequency, which then becomes the organizing pattern. Effectively, you are becoming the organizing pattern around which this energy then magnetizes and forms and creates your results. There's the basic explanation, the law of attraction, right? Which is the secondary law to the law of vibration. People here will say, I know that, I've heard that, I believe that, right? And that's where I was. And I could do it episodically, but I hadn't learned how to unlock it consistently or really let myself be present for the results. So here's the nuance, right? So number one, understanding what a sophisticated process it is to truly vision. It's not just slap some pictures on a vision board or say, well, I have a vision, but that there really is so many levels and layers of sophistication of understanding of how to direct this faculty of your imagination. Notice the places where you light up, notice the places where you're contracting, because that's your conversation with this invisible field in any given moment, right? Get clear around what brings you most alive. Not what you think you can do, not what you think is going to work. Notice where you start watering it down and keep coming back to, this is what brings me most alive. Then you're holding that. You're moving in that. You're living in that movie as you're making your lunch. You're talking to your kids. You're checking on your parents. You're doing the job. You're building your business, whatever it is. You're brushing your teeth. You are mentally rehearsing something. Show the movie that brings you most alive. Here's the other nuanced level of this. As you're working with that, you then allow it to inform who you need to be. This is where people will often talk about mindset or limiting beliefs. The reason why I go way beyond mindset is because it's not about mindset. It's about identity. And Gerry, this is the work that you do with people, right? That you help them build out a beautiful brand.
Brand identity, yes.
With typical branding people is that they'll build out this brand, but they don't help the person come along to be able to really identify themselves, be able to step into the identification, the relatedness. They have to be able to relate and see themselves as that person achieving that dream, as that person, as that brand. Maxwell Maltz wrote that we will never go beyond. We will never act beyond the way we see ourselves. You will not entertain ideas beyond the way you see yourselves. You will not allow yourselves to have results beyond the way you see yourself. And if they do come, you won't let them last. So you do what I call zip yourself into the skin, zip yourself into the brand of the man or the woman who achieved this. And you ask, all right, if I really did that, then how would I feel with it already done? And here's another one of our superpowers. First one is that we get to consciously choose our images. Second one is that you actually get to choose the way you feel. So how would I feel if it all worked out? I would feel amazing. I would feel grateful. I would feel fulfilled. Here's the nuanced piece of this. The nuanced piece is that you are generating those feelings even when your facts are not giving you permission. Your facts are suggesting otherwise. I'm not saying that you're whitewashing what's going on. I'm not saying life is all rainbows and unicorns when there's some very real human conditions. What I'm saying is that you stand in the face of whatever the conditions are. You understand that whatever the conditions are have been a result of your highest level of awareness and permission up to this point. And that as you work with this amazing faculty of your imagination and you stand in the face of those conditions, you have conditions, you don't let the conditions have you. And you are consciously generating a sense of gratitude, fulfillment, joy, and courage, even in the face of those conditions. Here's what happens. As you're generating state, you are literally lighting up different areas of your brain. And you are accessing this stream of intelligence that's always informing us. Now you have access to ideas and creativity you don't have access to when you're living from the same old, same old. You can now see ideas and opportunities. Always been there. They've always been there. You just couldn't see them thinking from this state of identity. Not only can you see them, but as you continue to do this nuanced, rigorous work of generating state, when you're looking at your facts that are not to your preference, and there's where the rigor comes in. There's where the nuanced application of this comes in. You keep working with this. You start owning that identification. You literally start normalizing what you're seeing as your dream routine in your mind. You start noticing how it's showing up in your life. And you're saying, of course, because I'm working these laws, and your world then organizes accordingly. And as it's organizing, you are building those cells of recognition, that identity that then allows it not only to change, but to sustain and then to keep growing.
Wow, that is exceptional and powerful. And one of the things, thank you for sharing. One of the things that I also heard within that speaks to the mindset, to use that word, of most human beings. And you use the word facts, you use the word conditions. And one of the mindsets of so many people, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about this, is that they're too busy looking at their stuff. They're too busy looking at the circumstances, the conditions of their life, their mess, whatever word they want to use, and they allow the circumstances to call the shots in terms of dictating their behavior and dictating the way they're going to start showing up in life. And you just said, wait a minute, there's a shift that can happen in the midst of the calamity, in the midst of the whatever, that if you hang out with all of that can create depression and anger and sadness and all these negative emotions. So the way you said it was so profound. Yet at the same time, I'm sitting here listening to you like, how do you do that? I mean, this is major transformational work that you'd have to do here, right? So what mistake do you see that people make when they're trying to apply this? What are your thoughts about this? Do people bump up against a barrier here?
Oh gosh, yeah, which is why, I do what I do, right? And I never promise a fast food fix. And I think that that's part of the challenge. It's some of the mistakes that people make. Number one is that they equate information with true knowing and application. And there's tons of information out there. I'm not the only person who's speaking this, right? There are tons of people who are teaching this, and people will they'll come to me, I know this, I believe this, I used this when I manifested my husband, my job, my house, my car, whatever it was, right? As if you can turn it on and off. So I think the law is always working. That's like saying, hey, I suspended gravity so I could get my grand piano off the 10th floor down to the first floor easily so it could just float down, right? Gravity's always working. We cannot suspend gravity. We have to work with gravity. So one of the first things I really encourage people to realize is that it's not that I have these conditions, and so how do I do this? You're doing this all the time. We are always creating. We can't turn it off. You can't turn this faculty of your imagination off. So you're either using it intentionally, you're driving it, or it's driving you. And what it's actually doing is terrorizing you, right? That you're allowing your imagination to terrorize. So please hear me. I am not dismissing, and I certainly don't want to sugarcoat this and say, hey, just vision and it will all come about. That in the middle of some really daunting circumstances, and I have been there, that it's deepening your understanding of that this really does work, deepening your faith in the power of this in the face of circumstances, and literally causing yourself to do what I call a pattern interrupt, because it requires a disruption in terms of how you're viewing and seeing. And I go much deeper into this when I have a longer time with training, obviously, right? Sure. And when I get my hands on people and really work with them. But it's beginning to really move from having a conceptual understanding or having information to, okay, so here's what it looks like to apply it in the nitty gritty, in the nuts and bolts of my day. First, I give myself permission to sit down and consciously create an intentional vision, because I'm running a vision anyway. Right now, you're running a vision, Gerry. You can't not project something, right? We're always running something. So let's honor this by being intentional with it and sit down and literally write out, what would I love? Mm-hmm. And then as you're working with that, and this is a key thing that I work on with people, is working with this process of what would I love? Then as you're working with that, you allow it then to inform who I need to be in any given moment. So let's say you're in a situation, so you brand people, right? So you're effectively we're speaking to entrepreneurs, right? People, business owners, right? Yep. And so let's say you sit down and you look at your calendar, you look at your schedules for the week coming up, and your schedule's looking pretty bare, that you would love to see a whole lot more names on there or contacts and people that you want to talk to. What most people would do, unaware, would then be to look at their schedule and then let their imagination go to, oh my God, if I don't get people on my schedule, now I'm mentally rehearsing what's going to happen in my checking account, what's going to happen with my bills, what's going to happen with my business, and now that train has left the station. And what's happening is that now you're generating fear in your body. So the only thing you have access to are fearful ideas. All you can do is access survival ideas. Because when we are in a survival state of mind, you have no ability to generate generative, creative, expansive ideas. But if you're looking at your calendar and it's bare, and there's that part that wants to say, nope, I'm going to put that voice on hold. I'm not denying the fact that my calendar is bare. This is not pretending and sugarcoating that it's, rainbows and unicorns. My calendar's bare. That's a fact. It's a fact. But here's what I know in this moment. In this moment, I have access to something so much bigger. And I'm going to access that power by first beginning to imagine how I would like my week to go, how I would like my year to go. So let me begin to, in the face of this, bring myself back to an awareness that I have this amazing power. I don't know how it works. I don't have to know how it works. I'm trusting Felicia right now that it works. And so I'm going to cause myself to come to a place of centeredness, know that there's a much greater power at work, and my imagination activates it. So I'm going to see a result I would like to see. And as I see that result, and I be the woman, I be the man who created that result, now I can ask, what did that person do in this moment? Not a week out, not a month out. I'll have people who will come to me and say, yeah, I have some great ideas. I'm going to do it next month. It's like, what happened to today? What are you doing in the next 5 minutes? Right? I just got a name for somebody that I'm looking for. The minute I got the name, I sat down and wrote the email and said, let's get this energy moving. People put it off. But when you are living in this state of being and an idea comes, you're willing in the moment to act on that idea. And not just one idea, but over and over and over and over again, as you're holding the image of the result that you want. All right, so let's say it doesn't happen that week, right? Let's say you want 10, but you get 2 conversations. You celebrate those 2 conversations, because what will happen is that you'll look at 2 and you want a 10 and say, oh, but I only got 2. And you dismiss the 2. The shift is, yes, I wanted 10, and wow, I got 2. I got my 2 on the way to 10. Whether I got them this week or next week or the following week, I'm on my way. That's a mental move. That's the nuance move right there, where you are generating the state of the person who already did this, and you're celebrating the micro moves every step along the way, realizing that those micro moves are moving to the macro move. This is where the rigor comes in, and the high degree of what I call spiritual discipline and spiritual maturity. And this is where most people don't understand, is that when you start entertaining disappointment because things are not moving as quickly or as expansive as you wanted, in that moment you are actually shutting the energy down. You're shutting your creativity down. You're shutting your momentum down. You know how hard it is to move in disappointment? You just assume, just lock up the doors. And again, please hear me. I'm not saying to deny the human experience. I'm not saying that it's not a very real experience that you're going through. But this is why so few people really understand this, because you have to literally cause yourself, in the face of facts that potentially could be disappointing, give yourself a moment, right? Give yourself a moment. But then you want to come back and say, all right, I'm celebrating on my way as I have the image, and I am the person who did this. And this is what I'm doing right now. And I'm staying connected to the stream of creativity and momentum as I'm now allowing these new results to come into my life.
It's almost like one must activate who they're going to be in the moment, realizing they have a choice, right, in the midst of whatever they're dealing with, this thing called life and the conditions and circumstances that show up, that they can either stand in a place of, if I'm hearing you correctly, they can either stand in a place of lack and scarcity, or they can stand in a place of overflow and abundance. That in the midst of, like you said, your goal is 10 phone appointments, you've got 2, but if your mindset, if your way of being is, all right, I'm 2 on my way to 10, it's going to drive some action that's going to bring you fulfillment. However, if someone stays in the, oh my God, I only got 2, and of course, one of the conditions that all of us as humans, what do we look at? We look at our bills. We think about our financial obligations. We think about people that depend on us, right? Family, spouse, significant other, all that kind of stuff. So we drive ourselves nuts around all these things that we feel are most urgent versus what's required. Because to your point, what's required is, wait a minute, in the midst of it, get in touch with your own greatness and magnificence. And this is what I love about the kind of, as you know, the branding work that I do in personal branding around expertise, is that you've got a gift. You've got something to offer the world that's profound. Stand in it, be in it, so that you can do what you need to do and have what you want to have in the midst of it all, right? Am I on the right path here?
That's it, Gerry. And here's the other piece with that.
Yeah.
When you're celebrating those two, what you're doing is that if you don't see those 10 phone calls as a way to get, you see it as a way to give. Pouring into those two as if they were 10, because wow, I get to serve these two people.
Exactly.
In addition, it's not just, it's the movement, and you're also magnetizing the field.
Yes.
But this is energetically, this is what you're sending out. That I am a good steward of what the universe has brought to me. So I am not dissing or dismissing these two. I am a good steward of the gift of these two. And as I demonstrate the reverence, as I'm treating these two, then I'm opening myself up for the 10 more, or even, the more after that are coming. And there really is a place of really coming to understand, and this is a key piece, the spiritual piece for me. Whatever you give, name you give it, or how you define it, or anything else, just understanding that there is an energy moving through us, underneath us, all around us, that when we open up and be who we are created to be, bring what we are created to bring, and acknowledge what's already here. Number one, we see how sourced and supplied we really are. It's breathtaking how abundant we are. And we're in that state of receivership where we now allow even more to flow into our lives. But when we're in a state of fear and scarcity and I gotta get, we literally stand on the hose and we cut it off. And here's what we stand on, right? Think of this. What do you think the universe's first currency is?
I don't know why.
Universe's first currency.
It's going to cost something. When I hear the word currency, here's what comes up for me: that I do A, I do B, and if I make the wrong choice, it's going to cost me something.
Okay, so somehow it involves money, right?
Yeah, the cost could be it could be financial cost, it could be my aliveness, it could be my vitality, it could be my state of mind. Because some people can go down a whole path of depression and sadness.
Yeah. Well, so when I think of currency, think of electricity, and I also think of money, right?
Right.
You think, okay, I have to generate money.
Yeah.
If I generate money, then I'm okay. Universe's first currency, ideas. They're ideas.
Ah, okay, I got you. Sure.
And so when we make ourselves available to bold ideas
Yes.
that who we are today would never entertain, but now we're putting on this being as the person who already did this. Now we can hear those ideas. And not only can we hear those ideas, but now we can physically act on those ideas that are way beyond how we have currently identified ourselves up until this point.
But let me ask you this though, because this is good. But what do you have to say to the person out there who's listening, who may feel that, Felicia, I hear you. However, if truth be told, I've got low self-esteem, I've got a lack of confidence, and I feel as if there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
That I need to fix something, that I need to improve on something, that there's something that I need to do or be first in order to achieve what it is that I want to achieve. Because in today's world, there's a lot of that going on, right? Where people start looking at not only their present circumstances, but their story. Yes. In terms of their journey and this, that, and the other and all the drama. And so we make up a story around it and we make up an interpretation of what it means, as opposed to, well, that's something that happened. Rocks are hard. Water is wet. What are you going to do next is what I like to say to people.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for that person?
It's a great question. And it's one of the things that we really dig into when I work with people. But here's the thing. I don't go after blocks. What I do is help people understand that actually your dream now becomes the catalyst for that need to transform. Because you got to have, if you don't have something that you have a burning desire for, you're not going to do the work, right? You know you need to build your confidence. You know you need to build your self-esteem. But if you don't give yourself permission to have a burning desire for it, there's no impetus to really dig in and do the necessary work to do the transformation. And here's the other piece with that I help people understand and work on. You don't do work on confidence, then go dream. You let the dream inform who you need to grow into. And because you have a burning desire and you're able to start imagining who that person could be, you start stepping into that person. It's also the reason why I always have somebody who stands with me as a partner in believing, as a mentor, as a coach, you know, as you do, Gerry, as you're working with branding and you're helping people step into their magnificence, to have somebody on the outside look at you and see you, oh my gosh, you are brilliant. It's breathtaking how brilliant you are. And to take a stand for that person long enough for them to be able to see it for themselves and then move accordingly, right? Move according to that new understanding, that new revelation. So if you're there saying, yeah, but I've got low self-esteem, I don't have any confidence, I don't know that I can really do that, just know that I stand with you with unwavering belief that absolutely you can. You know, you're not the one that electricity doesn't work for. These laws work for everybody, and this power is moving through everybody. And we all have stories. And so, you know, it's wrapping my arms around the story. Right? Deep compassion for the story. And you are more than that. There is that in you that's more than that. And so let's discover the even moreness of you as a result of that story. How does that story inform an even moreness of you as you discover and let your dream inform who you are to grow into as you then apply it to this sacred mission of living a life that you love.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Felicia, when should someone start building their dreams?
Well, so as I shared earlier, give yourself permission to start noticing where are those places where you've made good enough, right? Where you've made good enough. Especially, I mean, your crowd, Gerry, you're already successful. You look around your life and you see, wow, I've built out a pretty good life, and I don't know that I want to mess with it. And so we allow it to be okay to turn the dial down just a little bit. Notice those places where you're turning the dial down just a little bit, because that's life saying there's so much more seeking expression through you. Then give yourself permission to really start living into this sacred, most reverent question. What would I love? And understanding that's not your conversation. That's life's initiating a conversation with you. That desire is not coming from you. That's coming from life itself, wanting to grow you into an even more magnificent version of yourself and to expand the expression of life even more through you. So give yourself permission to pay attention to your discontent and understand that as life moving through you and life waking you up, and start paying attention to your desire, knowing that that's not your prayer to life, that's life's prayer to you. And if you do that, now you become a vessel through which life can grow and expand and bless exponentially.
And anybody can be a vessel, right? Tell people that, because I think some people have such self-doubt when it comes to, like, well, who am I? I didn't go to this school, right? I don't have this experience. I don't have this, that, and the other.
You know what? So here's what I say to that, and I say this with absolute love and respect. When people doubt whether or not they really have something to offer, I call that the flip side of arrogance.
Ooh.
Actually really being very arrogant, because what you're saying is that I'm the one that was created by just whatever relationship you have with it, this indescribable power that somehow I got missed and I'm the one without purpose.
Yeah.
That's like saying that blade of grass does not have value. It's actually a very arrogant thing. There's a level of humility that's required, a deep level of reverence and humility to understand, wow, I really can be used.
Yeah.
I may not necessarily know how, but I really can be used in a way that serves others.
I like that. And I think as part of that, people have to know it's okay to deal with the doesn't feel good stuff.
Yes.
You know, we got to be willing to walk through the flames, go through the storms, and build up a kind of tolerance for frustration. And speaking for myself, and I appreciate what you just shared, because one of the things that I learned along my journey of self-employment, entrepreneurship, and so on and so forth is that I never took the bait and went down a rabbit hole that I call, oh my God, business is horrible. Why can't I be successful like others in my field? How come I don't have this, that, and the other? How come this person, my friends, or people that I hear about, know about, oh my God, I need to do something else. I need to go get a job. And so I avoided this whole thing of keeping up with the Joneses, right? Because I think a lot of people, and this is so good we're talking about this, and I'm just so honored to have you here today, is that so many people fall into this trap of believing that they're not up to par, that they're not far enough along, and they're not defining success the way that success should be defined, because for a lot of people, success is what, Felicia? Money and stuff. What are your thoughts about that in terms of how people should take a look at how they define success and achievement and achieving dreams for themselves that goes beyond the material stuff?
Well, money is just such a tiny part of it,
Yeah.
right? And money, it's never about the money. Money is just a reflection of my relationship with myself in abundance, right?
Okay.
So, but let me back up, because you said that you had to build a tolerance for frustration. I actually think you have to build a tolerance and accommodation for joy and fulfillment.
Okay. Okay.
We trust frustration. As backwards as that may sound, there's almost, what I've noticed, again, in the work that I've done, and, you know, with myself and with just, you know, the streams of people throughout the ages, throughout the years, is that people mistrust ease. There's a trust in frustration. There's a trust in working hard. And it's like, if you let that go, then you make yourself vulnerable for something, you know, unpreferred, to just kind of come at you from behind, right? Just like, boom, slap you upside the head. So what we actually have to do is build a tolerance, and I say learn how to accommodate more good.
Okay.
Learn to trust the good. Learn how to let yourself let down the hypervigilance in order to allow yourself to experience and trust and be vulnerable to true joy and fulfillment. So that's, you know, that's where a key piece of this work comes in. So then if we're approaching it from that frame of reference, the whole thing around money is that you understand that money then just simply becomes a tool that you have to use to serve the quality of your own life, serve the quality of the life that are people here for you to serve, right? And to be able to contribute to those things that are meaningful for you. So it's just it just simply becomes you get to place it in its rightful place.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, place it in its rightful place and understand that you get to define success any way you want to. I had a client, she was so overwhelmed. She was highly successful, so overwhelmed with her job and the demands, and that she had become very ill. And it was chronic, and she was on a leave of absence, and she didn't want to go back to work. And all she wanted to do was learn how to garden and cook organically. That's all. That was her dream. I loved that dream for her, because for her, that was way beyond her comfort zone, to be able to exhale and relax and lay down the hypervigilance enough to let her body relax into beingness, to give herself permission to go into her garden and go into her kitchen. And so what we were really after was a deep sense of well-being, which could then direct, so what is it that's coming most alive for me? I've had clients, and there's one in particular that I'm thinking about, who came, she wanted to grow her business. But what we realized that when she got in, what we needed to work on first was cleaning up relationships. That her relationship with relationships was the thing that was the pattern that she was bringing in, and that she couldn't bring it into her work. She couldn't grow her work because of how she was relating to the people around her. And as we worked on that, and she realized that there was actually a part of her that was afraid to be successful, because then it meant that she had to take care of people more, that if she generated more money and became more successful, that she was just going to be more responsible for people, and was able to truly come to a place of deep compassion, forgiveness, and what true love was. And understand that love was truly about setting boundaries. She was able to then step into the work that was meant for her to do. Within 6 months, we tripled her income, tripled her ability to serve in terms of clientele, and she has much deeper, more loving relationships with the people around her, and she's using her money in really good ways. She's serving her own quality of life, and she's using her money in ways that feel really good for her.
Man, that is so good, because there are so many people out there who not only are baffled by how they define success in their life, right? The kind of car they drive, do they own or do they rent? What zip code area do they live in? I mean, they look at all this stuff. And what I also love about what you just said was showing people where to place the significance, what's important, and let it define you. That's not based so much on all this external stuff, but what's going on inside of you. And to then be able to then have more impact out in the world, along with what's most important, as you said, personal fulfillment.
That's it. That's
really what it comes down.
And income, when you are in a contributing state of being.
Yes.
You can't, when you are, Wallace wrote the book, The Science of Getting Rich, back at the turn of the last century. It was the book that The Secret was based on. And he talks about being a person of increase. When you are about enhancing somebody's life is better because of their interaction with you, however brief, however long, you are activating increase as a person of increase, because you understand what your source is, that you can never be disconnected from your source. When you are in that state of being, you can't chase increase away. You can't chase it away.
Exactly. And that is so true, because that's been the case for me. People, as you know, I've been in branding my entire adult life. It's the only thing I've done in my existence as a full adult is strategic branding. Most Americans change their jobs 10 to 15 times in a lifetime. I've never done anything else but this. And people often wonder, not only have I been in the game this long, but how do I stay so enthusiastic and turned on? Where it goes to what you just said, which is, I know how much of a difference I make to the people that I serve, and the impact and the difference that it makes not only in their aliveness, but also their own whatever they want to have show up in their business as a result, right? And that turns me on. I can't help but get excited about that.
Yeah, and what I love about what you do as you help people unlock their magnificence is that you take a stand for them and see it, for them to be able to then see it for themselves. And so, yes, the brand is what's visible. But when we talked, and what I really heard from you was that it's so much beyond that it's how am I now showing up in a way that truly is congruent with who I know myself to be.
Yes.
We're creating the container for people to come to realize it, recognize it, and live into it. And then the outer then reflects that.
Oh my God, I got to steal that. That was good for me. Yeah, because a lot of it is being able to show someone as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, whatever, how to be at that highest version of themselves as opposed to that lower version of themselves. Because when we are consciously aware of who we are at our highest version, that best version, that person that we all aspire to be, man, that's where miracles happen. That's when the juicy stuff in life starts to show up.
Yeah, and that's what you do, is that you really create the container for people to be able to draw that out. Not just draw it out, but step into it.
All right. Well, listen, you and I could continue for hours. I just love this. This has been such a magical time spent with you, and I can't thank you enough. And for our listeners out there, I invite you to learn more about Felicia and the amazing work that she does. Simply go to my website, GerryFosterBrandy.com, go to the podcast page, and you'll be able to find this interview with Felicia. And not only that, but her contact information as well, so that you can perhaps take a look at all the amazing things that she does. And if you want to delve more into what she offers with her programs and services and all of that, you can certainly find that out on my website. So Felicia, thank you for your magnificence and your contribution to the planet and the difference that you're making. It has been a real treat to have you here.
Thank you, Gerry.
All right. So to the rest of you, this is Gerry Foster, the branding evangelist, signing off. Take care.
You have just listened to Big Brand Formula. Thanks for joining us, and make sure to visit our website, GerryFosterBranding.com/podcast, where you can subscribe to the show and access our resources. If you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or simply telling a friend about us. Join Gerry again on the next episode of Big Brand Formula, where he can further help create your world-class brand.